In today's episode, I want to share some tips and tricks regarding RS and RL needles because I have some unpopular opinion about RS needles, the way I use them, and I wonder if you guys may find it helpful, maybe, and just your opinion in general. There I have a customer with the full sleeve. It's almost done, and it was a job we created together with a friend of mine, Nicholas. It's a full sleeve with the Ronin. It's like a samurai. In the first place, it was a samurai, but then guy said, I don't need it, like the armor, helmet, or something. I just want him to be in a kimono, in a straw hat, and everything. So just very like easy version of Japanese warrior. And I decided that I need to involve somebody who could take responsibility of a complicated background. So that's why Nicholas took care of the things around the character, the main character. So anyway, I want you guys to take a look and appreciate how shitty, how shitty the Ronin is, because the customer has very challenging, complicated skin. It's dry, it's thick, and oh my god. Nikolai already had a chance to fix everything he had done already, and he has like 2 layers fixed and healed. It's all perfect, it's all beautiful, but mine is complete shit. So today I will finish it up and use this case actually to explain a couple of things. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, that's the thing. This is my Ronin. I was responsible for the main character, and Nicholas took care of the background. And the good thing about the background that it already was fixed, because this particular customer, he has very challenging skin, so it's dry, it's very thick, and it's better to make a correction on top of existing tattoo always when you have a case like that. So the background was fixed already, it looks pretty good. And I'm not quite happy with my piece because obviously it has, I had no chance to get back and fix everything I needed, and today's the day we actually can do that. So I'm not happy at all with the down part. I think the skin here below the elbow is quite complicated. It's even worse than shoulders. So it's like nothing super bad. It's absolutely fixable. But anyway, you may see that all gray here is not perfect. Color loss here. So it's better to be fixed, obviously. But the main part here, it's outlining, no lines at all. Seems very weird. For example, pieces like here, if you cover the picture and you check the very center here, it's just a mess, all the details there just mixing together, and you can't recognize that's the shoulder, that's the part where the character's body ends, and there is a background behind. So the main thing for now, we need to add outlining, and I'll fix everything I don't like so far, and I just want to make this picture looking perfect. And I already have a couple of ideas how to even improve the picture. I already see some, not problems, I would say like mistakes that could have been better. So yeah, let's see how it turns out.
A big piece of my life is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's grappling. And I recently got promoted to black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I wanted something to memorialize something that's really big to me. So I wanted a Ronin because they wear a kimono, and then a Ronin with a black belt. So that was the whole inspiration behind the piece, was to have a Ronin wearing a black belt. And I think you as an artist brought it to life, right? With the extra designs, the patterns, etc.
Okay, I'm almost done with the outlining. I decided to have a short stop for explanation because I want to share a couple of tips with you. First one, let's take a look at this mask here, because it's a good thing to spot the difference between the sizes, because you may see that the main shapes around it, like all the way around with the bold black outline here, it's like the big size. Medium size is this one, for example, looks a bit smaller, and the thinnest line is here around this, like tiny objects. So what's the thing? I highly recommend you guys never take sizes of outlines close to each other. Like, for example, if you take 11 round liner, the next step is 13, because it's like, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, blah, blah. So if you have 11, for example, I would never take here 13, because even though it's like different needles, and obviously 13 is bigger than 11, but it's not working, you're gonna see that the line is actually so similar that you don't spot the difference between them. It's not working. So what I do, I push myself. I was like literally pushing myself to choose like a bigger difference, you know. So here, this line, the medium size, is 11 round liner, and when it comes to a bigger size, I take RS. Okay, there is no better place rather than kitchen to explain why I don't use bigger liners, bigger than 11 round liner, and whenever it comes to having something bigger than 11, I switch for RS needles. A plastic on top of a glass, let's pretend it's a skin, and we have toothpicks. One here, it's like 1 round liner. We have 3 round liner needle, and we have my favorite 11 round liner needle. So how it works, whenever you take, let's say, 1 round liner and want to pierce the skin, your machine has to create some sort of force that moves the needle down, and this force push the needle in, so it pierces the skin. Quite easy, right? And I don't need that much of a force. I can just use one of my finger and just easily, you know, there is nothing much I need to use for it. Even though we don't use 1 rel, actually. I don't use 1 rel at all. I'll explain later why I don't do that. So we go for 3 rel, for example, and it works the same way. We just have machine, it creates a force, the force goes all the way down, it concentrates on the very tip of the needles, and then it pierces. But yeah, this time I need to apply more force. I need to push harder. Oh yeah, that's how it works. Why it works not as easy as with the 1 needle, because the entire force, the whole this massive heat that your machine creates, it's just concentrating on the very tip of 1 needle. But when we have 3 of them, it spreads and it's divided for 3 points that touch the surface, right? But if we have 11 round liners, it's like a surface of needles, you know. It literally looks like that when you take a look at the needle and the actual needle. So, and all this surface has to go through the skin. So in that case, 1 finger is not enough. I need to use maybe hold my arm. Yeah, you need to apply more force to go through, right? And that's the thing. On my experience, when you have something bigger than 11 round liner, you create such a massive surface out of your needles that the machine can't handle it and can't pierce the skin evenly to leave a solid and consistent line. But what it happens, you can actually see if we go for 3 liner, we can call it 3 liner, just 3 accurate holes, but with the bigger one just rips the plastic. You see, it's just like big rip holes here. It's bad. It's just simply bad. You over damage the skin. And the magic is that if you have, for example, 9 round shader, even though 9 is physically just smaller than 11, but 9 round shader is bigger as a needle, is bigger than 11 round liner. You have less amount of needles. You don't need to apply that much of a force. You don't need to deliver that much of trauma to a spot you work with. But at the same moment, you are receiving a very good ball line. I don't need it. I mean, 11 is okay, but anything like 13, 15, 18 round liner is garbage. I never use it. 7 round liner, which is quite easy to work with, I believe. So check this. You can move the needle if you aim the cartridge that way, so you can go either forward or backwards. The difference that in those directions is getting going backwards delivers less amount of trauma. Here we go. But it's a good needle. The same way going forward delivers bigger amount of trauma, but it works good too. And I don't think you may see any difference here, because there is actually no difference. Both pieces are okay, just black solid line. There is nothing bad in it. But whenever it comes to round shader, it's gonna be a problem, because if you work with the round shader, you need to be more like you better just slow down and never move backwards. In that case, when you deliver less amount of trauma moving backwards, you may see that the line is not quite good. Check this. You see this like tiny like hairs inside the line. It's not like one solid unit. You may recognize the texture here inside the line. It's bad. because that way it means that the line is not black enough. It's gonna be hued more like deep gray tone, not black, and the line we need actually looks like that. So this time I go forward. It's black. I don't know if it's visible on camera, maybe I have like too much of experience, and anyway it works okay, but if you use round shader and you feel the line is not perfect, so pay your attention at the way you go. If you go backwards, don't do that, just go forward and always try to slow down. For example, if I work with the RS needle, that's the speed I need to move my arm. Just like that. It's not quite fast, right? But the same moment if I work with the round liner, especially a small one, check how faster my arm is moving. You see, much faster. And both lines are okay. So you need to slow down and never go backwards. That's the thing, because I already had many cases when people tried to use my round shader things and they say just not working. I cannot make a good outline with round shader. Round shader is for shading, it's shader, it's not liner, but it works. You just need to know what to do. All right, here is my whole outlining strategy in just 5 minutes or something. Before we get started with examples, I need to explain about some sizes of needles I usually use. I use 3 types of liners. 1, 2, 3. So the first one is the smallest, like the thin line. Usually it's 3 RL. 3 RL to 7 RL. So here you can have 5 RL in the middle, right? But usually like the majority of the things I do with the 3 RL, it's over 90% of things. And what is important, so anything like between 3, 5 or 7, anything until 7, we never use bigger than 0.25. Makes no sense to use 0.30, 0.35. The line is not as accurate and thin and stable as with the 0.25. That's the only case I use 0.25 needles. The rest, never. So yeah, and the majority is that thing. Why we don't use 1 RL? It exists, of course it does exist, but the thing is that 1 RL line is not quite stable. For tattooing it's a bad choice, very controversial. I don't like it. 3 RL with 0.25, it's very, very thin. It's perfect, so there is no need in 1 RL, better not to risk it. Second one is anything in between this 7, we don't use 7 in this case, we go for 9 up to 13, let's say, or better maybe 11. So I choose something out of this range because sometimes you can, why this is actually a range if just, you know, one step, because all the needles like 5, 7, 9, 11, 13 and blah blah. Actually, you can adjust the size of these lines with this thing. So if each needle is 0.30 or 0.35, you receive different size of the line, obviously. That's quite easy. Usually I go for 0.35, that's my favorite, just easier to go. You just can make a quick line, it looks good, you don't need to get back for the second layer of lining, so that's just easy. And here is the magic. So whenever it comes for something bigger than 11, I don't, yeah, this is round liner, which is important. 11 or 9 round liners. Whenever I go bigger, I use round shaders, because that's not a popular choice, let's be honest, and people don't really know how to work with round shaders because it's shader, round shader, so you shade, you don't line with it. And people think that usually if you need a bigger line, you just need to take a bigger liner. Logically works, right? But in fact, if I want to go bigger, like 11 plus, I go for 9 RS. I know like 9 is smaller than 11, but RS makes the line like wider, bigger, you know, bolder. So usually 9 or 11 and anything else until 18 RS. What is S like that, right? So the thing is that 18 RS looks massive, and you may think that it's not working to have like a normal solid line with that needle, but it works. I can explain everything. I have, in today's project, we have 15, I believe it's 15 RS, which is quite close to 18. So it works easily, you will see it. So there is no problem, you just need to know how to work with that thing. So, and now when you know that, like combination of 3 liners, I'd never take more. So let's say the day began, I just took 3 rel, 11, and the third one is like, I don't know, 13 RS. That's 3 lines I use for the whole day, for the whole project. Usually I don't anything else. It makes no sense because everything in between destroys the, you know, visually you don't see that much of a difference. That's the thing, because you need to make every of those lines being very different comparing to each other. Obviously, if you use anything from the number 3 and number 2, whatever you go for, it's like very different. But at the same moment, number 2 has to be very different to number 1 and to number 3 too. Here's examples. Okay, let's consider a couple of things. That's my Daruma doll. I've been working on this thing recently. So in this case, that's the very easy thing to consider how all those things works. You may see that here is my number 3. This line is my number 2. And all these lines inside the thin lines are my number 1. Which is, again, that would have been 3 rel, 9 rel, and this is like, I don't know, like 9 RS or 11 RS or something. So that's how I do that. So, and the main part, why you actually need so many lines, because you could technically make it with the same line, like just everything, but in my opinion, that looks very massive when you overload everything with the big line, with the bold line, like all the details, all the, I don't know, shapes and edges. You overload the picture, it looks very boring and it looks rushed, like you were too lazy to switch the liner and make it more like complicated, more interesting. But here is a couple of rules. Even though you may see that the main shape is surrounded with the bold line all the way around here or here, it's the same. So the main shape I always surround with the biggest line that I have in my set of liners. I do use the big liner for eyes usually. It's not that popular choice probably, because physically eyes are like a small object, right? So if you have like the entire thing and eyes physically just a couple of % of the entire object. Anyways, I do the big line around the eyes here. Here you may see that the line is much bigger, which can be technically sound weird, but in fact it works pretty good. You may see on picture that it looks actually good. There is no problems with that, even though there is like no big bold outlines inside the shape. All around, yeah, it is, but inside there is nothing but eyes. However, the middle size of the needle works for separation the materials. For example, we have a face and the shell that surrounds the face. So if I were to separate the face and the shell, here is this needle, here is this line. Yep, that's how it works. So for example, why I don't use this middle size liner for dividing, for separation for the cloud here, because this cloud and this air flow or this tiny cloud, it's all the same thing. It's like the same material, it's the same objects just mixed together. I don't need to separate them. So just no need. And sometimes I can just get some extra focus on nose or mouth, because it's just important thing on the face. Face is a bit different. So if I can work on face and add some extra like bold lines, sometimes it works, it's okay. But for the rest of the cases, I don't use bold lines for anything. I would prefer to keep it less, you know, less surrounded, because yeah, I believe if you use less amount of lines and thinner lines, then it creates more like realistic picture. If you go for bigger lines, bolder lines, and you use more of them, that creates more like traditional picture. So it's all about the balance. If you want to reach something more traditional, you better not to go maybe for this thing, just go for the second and third number. If you like to be more like, I don't know, more to bring more details, you want to be more like natural and realistic without this flat traditional shape, maybe you better to go mostly for those two and focus on the first, and as minimum as possible use number 3. It's actually my case. The second picture is this crab. What is interesting here, it's about the perspective. So you may see that the claw stands out a bit, it just sticks forward. So what do I need? I need to separate the claw, and yeah, for example, this thing. If we have legs behind here, so leg number 1 that goes all the way down here, leg number 2, and the claw. Okay. Quick note, if you were subscribed for nbktattoos, unsubscribe. Here we go again. So if we have a claw that wants like that, it's better to like stick out, you know, look forward. So we need to separate it with the legs behind. So what I do surround the claw with bigger needles, like here, and I keep the rest of the things behind with thinner needles. And it works like perspective, so you don't actually need to use these outlines only to surround the main shape. You can also reach the effect of perspective to move the things backwards and put it deeper to the background, or maybe push them forward actually to make it like a perspective thing. So yeah, that's how it works. But last thing, here you may notify that the claw holds a couple of needles, these two, right? So, and the claw has both outlines. At the same moment, the needles, it has like thin outlines around the needle bar. Why is that? Because you better not to surround thin objects with both outlines. It works pretty bad. It looks so massively and overloaded. I have my own rule. It works like, let's do it that way. So I will just zoom it like here. If you have just any sort of object which has like some sort of size, right? So here, that's the size of the object. I never surrounded with the outlines bigger than this actual object. What I mean, I wouldn't do an outline big like that here and here, because if I sum up this distance and this distance, it's bigger than this distance. What I mean, so that's why I have a thin outline like all the way along this bar. It looks much better, it looks more accurate. You can just try it on iPad or something, better not to try on people, but anyway, I would always go for this option. So again, this thing has to be always bigger than some of outlines you surround it with, okay? That's quite easy. And the third thing is more complicated. That's a samurai, and here you may see that big outlines actually can prevent you having a mess on your picture, even though it's full of things. It's textures, it's a tattoo on tattoo, it has a mask with cracks, it has patterns, it has like some stitches, some ropes, like everything is there. But anyway, you can easily recognize that that's the arm, this is the elbow, here's the face, it's quite easy. This is the plate from the armor, fabric on his pants, like the weapon. It's all super easy, like readable. There is no mess in it, right? Why it works like that? Because of the lining management. That's what I want to explain. You need to use, in my opinion, you need to use at least 3 sizes of lines to reach like a readable picture. And the main thing here, that if your design looks good, readable, and clean, without any color, that's a good step you have to make always. If you see that design works like, you know, it looks bad, and you think, all right, once I color it, it may look much better, maybe you will like, I don't know, recognize the shape better once it receives the colors or anything. No. When you have no colors, the very first step with outlining like a sketch, it has to be looking good at that very first step. If it's not working, don't continue. Something is off with the design in the very beginning, so need to rework it. Okay guys, that was my 3rd episode on this channel, and I wonder what you think about everything I explained here, because I feel like the whiteboard scenes are way too long sometimes, way too complicated. But maybe you like it, I don't know, just down there in comments below, just notify if you want to readjust or, I don't know, just change anything. I would love to see your opinion on it. And mostly, I wonder what you think about the sleeve from today's sleeve, because in the morning it was looking so controversial, not quite good, right? And after all, it's like a new tattoo, like absolutely different sleeve, and I love it actually. Again, your opinion in comments. I love to see any sort of feedback, and if you want to see more of my jobs, you're welcome to my Instagram. I post there everything I do, all the projects, sometimes some process or some raw jobs or anything. So subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see us in the next video. Bye bye.